What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we have a dedicated showcase video for the brand new Monkey D. Luffy Gear 5 from the 10th anniversary. Now, after using this character, I definitely think this is probably the best of the three new units. I think this unit is awesome. However, there is one major drawback, which we'll get to with building this unit. But overall, I think that this unit is phenomenal. One of the best units in the game. Just the things you can do with him, the characters you can synergize with him are phenomenal. So there's lots to talk about with this guy. So we're going to discuss it as the gameplay goes on in the background, and I'll point out certain things as we get to them. But let's start off with that captain ability. So the really unique thing in his captain, where he gives -3 to super switch and versus gauge effect at the start of the quest, as well as giving 2 turns of cooldown to int, fighter, and powerhouse. This is really cool, meaning that if you have double gear 5, you get -6 to switch effects and versus effect gauge. This is phenomenal. It makes using dual units way better as a crewmate under gear 5 as a captain, so that's a huge positive for this unit. You get the cooldown as well to int, fighter, and powerhouse, and then he gives the major 6 times attack boost also to int, fighter, and powerhouse, and then 6.25 if you hit 3 consecutive perfects, which is kind of whatever. Because at a bare minimum, you're still getting the 6 times boost. You get the 1.35 health as well, and even if you run characters that are not int, fighter, or powerhouse, you still receive the 4.5 bonus, which is still kind of nice, as well as making int and tandem slots matching, and then removing 10 turns of despair on top of that as well, so he's got a little piece of utility in that captain. And then it says, anytime you use a special to boost attack, you extend the duration of it by 1 turn, partnering up really well with this character's special to give you an attack boost, extending it to 3 turns instead of the normal 2 turns. And then if this character is your main captain, it doesn't count as a friend, but if this character is your main captain and you use the special, if you perform excellent with the action special, you're going to get a 6.5 times attack boost to int, fighter, and powerhouse characters instead for the next 3 turns. So, very strong captain. It doesn't do a whole lot really when you boil it down. Like, it gives you the despair removal in terms of utility, the cooldown reduction for versus effect, switch effect, and cooldown. And then it's just like major attack boost. And then he does make int and tandem slots matching. But compared to other captains, there are definitely other captains in the game that are better than this Luffy. But the fact that he does all of this plus the rest of his kit with this captain makes it work really, really well. And you see that in this video, I'll be using a lot of hybrid scenarios with Gear 5 Luffy. Like in this instance, we're using Halloween Ace. So we've got Luffy to remove 10 turns of Despair. Halloween Ace removes 10 turns of Special Bind and Special Reverse. Just lots of utility that you can hybrid up with this guy. So when you use Luffy as a captain, you're going to get access to that EX Super. The EX Super, though, has a little bit of a downside when you compare it to some of the other characters that have released during this event period. So the activation requirement, you need 3 of the listed units on the crew, which is kind of annoying when you compare it to like Shanks and Ace. Those 2 units only require 2 of the listed units for them. So it is a little bit weird that Luffy does have that little bit of a nerf. You need 3 of those units, but the units you can build with that. You know, you've got any of the Straw Hats can be used. Yamato, Law, Kid, Ace, Sabo, Shanks, and Roger. You got a pretty good array of units there. And the EX Super, it's fine, honestly. It does give you a 30% heal that can overheal. That sometimes can be useful. And then a very unique effect where he changes the first class of Cerebral and Shooter characters into Fighter for 1 turn. This is a very unique mechanic. I don't know why they decided to specifically do that. I mean, I kind of do get it because, you know, the anniversary characters, Shanks is Cerebral, Ace is Shooter, change them into Fighter so you can abuse the captain ability of Luffy here. But to be honest, I think that it is a bit of a weird choice that they did that. I would have preferred it if he just says all characters, just change all characters first class into Fighter for 1 turn. I think that would have been honestly a little bit of a better decision, as well as providing a 2.5 color affinity boost to int, fighter, and powerhouse for 2 turns. That's a great effect. We absolutely love that. And then super int and super fighter. I want to bring your guys' attention to this clip right here. Normally Zoro with his preemptive attack would change all of our slots into block, but because of Luffy's unique effect in his special, which we'll talk about in just a moment, he enables it so that your int slots cannot be changed at all for 2 turns. Very, very cool mechanic. You can abuse that, so if you're able to like use it before entering a new stage and then somehow lock those in slots, keep them, and then you can move into the next stage, the enemy cannot change them around, they can't change them into anything. So I think that part of his special is part of the reason why I do think this Luffy is going to see more and more play in the future, because, you know, sometimes you don't want to deal with poison slots, you don't want to deal with super block slots, you don't want to deal with just block slots, right? This Luffy can just keep your slots, you know, for forever. And even on the final boss versus Frankie here, Frankie has an effect where if you do slot change, he changes your slots into either block or badly matching, but because we use Luffy's special, we apply the buff again, and then he can't change our slots around. So just a really neat effect that Luffy gets access to with that special. So let's go ahead and talk about the abilities of Luffy's special ability. So first of which, it does 300 times his attack and typeless damage to all enemies, ignoring defensive effects and base defense. Doesn't go through normal attacks only, but it's not a big deal. It is still a damage dealing special, so it allows you to apply certain supports, which is very, very good. It then goes ahead and for some reason just gives one turn of delay going through status effects. I don't understand why this Luffy was given this effect. He doesn't have any way to kind of abuse the delay mechanic. I guess you can synergize it with other characters like Vegapunk, which came out recently, can also abuse this type of mechanic, but overall it's just kind of a weird choice. But I think it's really, really cool that he has it either way, because you can abuse it in really cool ways. Furthermore, in terms of more utility, reduces bind by 10 turns, reducing threshold by 10 turns. So he's got damage dealing special, guaranteed delay, and then removing 2 debuffs by 10 turns. Seems pretty good so far, and then gives you a full board of int slots that go through block slots, and then, as we mentioned just before, allows your int slots to be unable to be changed for 2 turns. So that's a very powerful mechanic that he has access to. And then you get into the boosting effect. So he does 2 different types of, almost 3 different types of boosts. He, first of all, will also do a up to 4 times attack boost, by the way, depending on your performance in your action special, and that lasts for 2 turns. So it can go from at a minimum of a 3.5 attack boost to int fighter powerhouse, but it can scale all the way up to a 4 times boost if you perform excellent during your action special. So make sure you get those taps down pat. And of course, if you use Luffy as your captain, the attack boost of this special becomes a 3-turn attack boost that you can carry over multiple different stages, multiple different turns. He then also says that if you already have an attack boost, he gives you 2000 base attack for 2 turns for int fighter and powerhouse. So that might be one of the best base attack boosting specials we've seen in the game. So he can do one of the best attack boosts in the game, and one of, if not the best base attack boost in the game. And then finally, he does say that if you have an orb boost on your team when you launch his special, then he's going to magnify the effect of that orb boost by 1.5 times. So, hypothetically, if you had a 2 times orb boost already, you use this special, that 2 times orb boost becomes a 3 times orb boost. Like, that is just legitimately insane that he can do that. So, Luffy is a character that I think is going to see a lot of play moving forward, not only as a captain, but also as a sub. He has great crewmate abilities, which I haven't listed on the screen here, but I know it does cooldown reduction, he gives more matching slots and stuff like that. Like, he's just a great character that's just gonna see play in lots of different ways, and the fact that this character is not free spirit focused and he's actually powerhouse focused makes him a lot easier to be used in other teams, because a lot of Luffys that are free spirit kind of competing for each other on team builds, but because he can also be kind of powerhouse focused or fighter focused, it means you can use him in a lot of different ways. And then the last thing I want to bring your attention to is the Rush Sugo special of Monkey D. Luffy. So we're going to look at the level 5 of the Rush Sugo special, but the really cool thing about the Rush for all 3 of these anniversary units is that you can use it either as the first tap of your chain, or you can use it as the last tap of your chain. Very similar to a couple of other characters that we've had. It's like combining the effects of Rush Sugo Sanji and the effect of like the original Gear 5 Luffy Rush Sugo special. So that's really interesting that he gets access to do that. So depending on your team build, you know, if you already have like a really good final tap that you want to abuse instead, you can just make this Luffy the first tap of your chain, or alternatively, if you don't have a good final tap on your crew, this can basically be your final tap, which is so interesting. And the different effects that you get with the Rush are actually very, very useful too, because, you know, if you have the first tap, it is kind of similar to using a Rush Sugo Sanji, where you get a buff for your int, fighter, and powerhouse for the rest of your crew when you tap first. But then if you are the last character to tap with this Luffy, then the Rush Sugo special gives himself like a huge significant boost, very similar to the Gear 5 Luffy that we know and love. You do have to keep in mind though that, you know, this Luffy isn't super effective against all types, whereas the other Luffy is, which makes his rush a little bit better. But, you know, if you're up against a mono int team, then you can go ahead and use this guy as your last tap. He's going to do a ton of damage. Or alternatively, if you are up against, you know, a different color, and, you know, this Luffy isn't going to do as much damage against that boss, you can dedicate him to be your first tap in your chain and give a buff to your other int, fighter, and powerhouse characters for that turn. So I like that you can use him in different ways. However, there is still the drawback of requiring 3 of the listed units, the Straw Hats, Yamato, Law, Kid, Ace, Sabo, Shanks, and Roger. Again, it could be a little bit difficult to team build for, but if you have this character with that Rush Sugo special, you can just get free damage because of it. So I don't really think there's an inherent downside, but team building could be a detriment to this character. We'll see how things go in the future. But all in all, that is going to wrap it up from me today. This last clip that you're seeing versus San Juan Wolf, I just wanted to see how much damage we could do with Luffy by himself, just with his special and super type alone. We do have the base attack boost from Robin and Jinbei, but you'll see that when we actually, towards the end, you'll just see we do a lot of damage. We didn't really even get to fully abuse the amount of damage that we kind of wanted to do with this Luffy, but it's still kind of hilarious to see how much damage we can do just with like Luffy alone, giving us the raw damage increase. So you can just imagine if you stack this with other damage boosting buffs, like conditional burst and stuff, you can do some crazy stuff with Monkey D. Luffy. But that is going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, I'll see you guys within the next video.
背中を任せた。